So this is lesson 1-4. So we're talking about absolute values. On the first few, we're just going to evaluate. All right. So when we evaluate, we're just going to plug in this values into that absolute value. Okay. And I'll talk about what an absolute value means in just a second. So if we have 2, let's see, x is 2 right here. So we have 2 times 2 minus 8, the absolute value of. Okay. Now this is going to give us 4 minus 8. Or the absolute value of 4 minus 8, which is going to be the absolute value of -4. And maybe some of you know, some of you don't know, but the absolute value of a number, all right, really what I'm asking you for is what is the distance between -4 and 0? So what is that distance between -4 and 0? How far is -4 from 0? Yes, sir?
It's just 4.
Right. So therefore, this has to be just 4, right?
I was wondering what those lines mean also.
So those lines mean absolute value.
Oh.
So anytime you see those 2 little lines around the equation or the number, that means the absolute value. So again, you must think of the absolute value just as a distance, all right? So notice that, for example, this is a -4, but this is still going to be positive 4. All right, if this would have been just a 4, well, the distance between 0 and 4 is still 4, right? So that changes. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to a problem like number 4. And let's go ahead and do this completely on the calculator. Okay, so you can see. There's certain things that I want you to check, all right? So let's start off by clearing off our calculators.
Plus 712.
Thank you. Second, plus 712. All right, so we're clear. And then now, in order for you to find those 2 little lines that you're talking about, the absolute value is very simple. You're going to press math, which is the third button from the top. All right, and you're going to go over to the right. So press the directional button. And now notice that you're on this menu. You have number right here. And then you have ABS. Now, if you're a little bit lost already, just give me a minute. I can show you that in just a second, all right? I just don't want to take up class time. All right, so again, one more time if you missed it, you got to press math. And then scroll over to the right, and now you're on this menu right here. ABS is absolute value. So if we press enter, there it is. There's the absolute value. Okay? So on number 4, for example, all right, I'm going to have x plus 5, which is actually 2 plus 5. So we got 2 plus 5 minus, again, one more time, all right? So if you missed the absolute value, one more time. Math. Go over to the right one, press enter. Okay, ABS is absolute value. So we have 2 W's, so that's going to be 2 times -4. And I always like to write a parentheses when I'm evaluating. It just kind of helps me to know that there was a number that went in there. Okay, so that's going to be -1. Okay, so.
Oh, I forgot the minus after the 5 thing. We got 56.
All right, remember, if you're gonna talk, raise your hand. Hear me? All right. Now this one is -1. Now, does that bother anybody that it's a -1? Are you okay with being a -1? I mean, you should be. The calculator said so, right? I hear that a lot. So if I were to do this by hand, you don't have to do this by hand, but I'm just showing you. All right, I would have. Let's see, 2 plus 5 minus 2 times -4. This is 7. This is -8. What is the distance between -8 and 0?
8.
8. All right, so we have 7. The absolute value of 7 is just 7, right? The absolute value of -8, well, that's positive 8. So then you have 7 minus 8, which is -1. Okay? So again, don't be confused. Just because you're dealing with the absolute values, it doesn't mean that they're always positive. Okay? Now the inside of that will always be positive, but moving on. And well, I'm not even going to do 2. 2 is the same thing. But let's move on. Is there any questions about this so far? Raise your hand if you got it. All right, if you understand it. Question, anybody? Okay. Yeah, no, raise your hand if you got it. So if you got it, all right, we're good. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the back. Now the back is actually, we're solving absolute value equations, all right? So let me just show you what you're going to do, and I'm going to get this question asked a few times, but that's okay. If you're dealing with an equation and you're inside an absolute value equals a number, all right, it's actually very simple to solve. The first step is to set up the equation exactly like you see it. You got 2x minus 3 is equal to 17 right here. Okay, so that's case 1. And then on case 2, you're going to have the same thing, 2x minus 3, but you're going to set that equal to negative 17. So basically all you're doing is you're going to switch the sign on the right side. All right, do you see that? You got 2x minus 3 is equal to 17, 2x minus 3 is equal to negative 17. And then you solve each equation one at a time. And then after you're done solving, then you're going to check each answer by plugging it back in. You can use your calculator. And then now both of these check out. Not always do they check out, by the way. And I'll show you at least one that doesn't work all the time. So again, the lesson here is for you to remember that you need to isolate. You understand the word isolate? Do you know what that means?
It means put one inside something.
Right, like if I tell you, Hibbs, that I'm going to isolate you, what does that mean?
Put you inside something by yourself, away from other people.
Yeah, I'm basically going to separate you, right? I'm going to set you apart. So you have two cases, one positive, one negative. All right, so that's the important part to know. And you got to check your solutions. So check solutions. All right, so don't forget that. So that's the short version of it. All right, so let's do a problem like number 1. Okay? All right, on number 1. All right, on number 1. Very simple. Again, we have the one on the left. We have x plus 15 is equal to 37. And on the right side, we're going to have another equation that says x plus 15 is equal to negative 37. All right, so right there we have two equations. You with me? All right, so I'm going to solve each one at a time. So I'm going to solve the left side first by subtracting 15. So I have x is equal to 22. Okay. Now on the right side, we're going to subtract 15. So we have x is equal to negative 52. All right, the last step that says check, you can do that completely on the calculator. I don't care. All right, so just for practice, let's go ahead and stretch out our fingers and let's try to punch this in the calculator to figure out if those two are indeed the answers. All right, so we have math, which is the third button right here, math over the number. There's the absolute value right there. So all you have to press is enter. So again, math over to the right, press enter. All right, so we have, let's see, 22 plus 15. That should be 37, so that checks out. See, that's 37, so we're good. And on the other side, let me see, math over the number, enter. We got negative 52 plus 15, and that should also be 37. And it is. All right, so both of those answers check out. You with me? Now, remember, like anytime if I'm plugging in just numbers inside the absolute value, the answer is always going to be positive. Okay? The answer is always going to be positive. I mean, you can see this. Negative 52 plus 15, that's actually negative 37 inside the absolute value, right? But the absolute value of negative 37 is 37. So, anyway, moving on. Number 3. Right, number 3 is a little bit different. We have m plus 3 is equal to 12 minus 2m. Right, and on the other side, so this is case 1. On case 2, we're going to have m plus 3. And remember, I told you you're going to make the right side negative, right? So I'm going to write 2 steps on this one. We have negative of 12 minus 2m. Okay? Now we're going to solve each one. So again, right here I have two linear functions. Or two linear equations, I should say. I'm going to start off by getting all the m's to one side. You don't have to do it in this order, but I'm going to add 2m to each side. I remember that you always start with adding or subtracting. So at this point, I have 3m plus 3 is equal to 12. Alright, now I'm going to subtract 3. And some of you already kind of see where this is heading here, but you got 3m is equal to 9. And if I divide both sides by 3, then I get 3. Alright, so that's one answer. Now on the other side, same idea, except for the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute that negative. So I have negative 12 plus 2m. You see the difference? So, but the steps are the same. The steps are literally the same. So I'm going to start off by, I don't know, what do you want me to do first? Let me not even ask you, never mind. Bad idea. I'm going to subtract 2m from each side. So this is going to give me negative m plus 3 is equal to negative 12. And then now hopefully you can see that I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. So I have negative m is equal to negative 15. How do I get rid of this negative with the m? Divide by negative 1, multiply by negative 1, same thing?
So it's 15?
Yep. So m is equal to 15. Now here's the deal. Here's the idea though, right? And I'm not going to do this necessarily because I don't want to waste a whole lot of time. Alright, but if you check 3, that's going to work out. Alright, so 3 is going to work. But if I check 15, it's not going to work. And I'm going to show you. Alright, so again, I'm going to do this fast. I already talked about how to do absolute value. We have, let's see, 15 plus 3. So that should be 18. And on this one, by the way, the one with the equal sign, you have to kind of put that in the calculator, the left side. And then you're hoping that the right side is going to be the same thing. All right, so you have 12 minus 2. And then that's going to, m is 15, right? And that has to give you 18, but this one gives you negative 18. They're not the same. One's positive, one's negative. So this one right here, and it does happen sometimes, this one right here is not a solution. It doesn't work. Only one of them works. Make sense? Alright, now we're going to do one more, but that one's going to be pretty fast. Let's see, which one did I do here? Okay. Let's do number 4. Alright, I kind of invaded that territory over here. My bad. I want to rewrite it over here because it's not gonna take a whole lot of room. I promise you. So I'm just gonna rewrite that here. That's the original equation. What is the first step? And if you don't know, read at the top of the stuff that I wrote. What's the first step? Isolate. So we're gonna isolate, right? So how do I isolate this absolute value? Basically what I'm asking is how do I get rid of that 16? Alright, so we're going to subtract the 16. So we have the absolute value of 5b plus 9 is equal to negative 14. Are you with me? Okay, now before I do any work, yes, I could split up into 2 cases. I'm going to leave the first one negative and the other one positive. Alright, it doesn't matter really, but here's what I want you to understand. Remember what I told you, that the absolute value is like a distance. Alright? So if I ask you, okay, the distance in here, whatever that may be, the distance is going to be negative 14. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense because distance is always positive, right? So this one right now, before even solving it, just logically, I know that this has to be no solution. Because there's nothing that's going to give me a negative distance. So I want to make sure you understand this only happens when you have one absolute value equals a negative number. Alright, so if you have one absolute value equals a negative number, then Oh, I want to write mathematically so bad, but I can't. There's no solution. Okay, so that's the one you have to remember. There's two problems that I'm going to assign on here. On your homework, there's literally almost no work to be done, all right, if you recognize that. So again, one absolute value is equal to a negative number. That's the only time you can do it. All right, let's look at the homework. All right, let's take a look at our homework. Okay. All right, we're not going to do all of it. Let me find the ones that I want you to do. All right, so the problems that we're going to do on this are 2, 4, 5, 11, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 21. All right, that's 10 problems right there. That's all it is. All right, so it's about a third of this.
That we're doing or we're not doing?
That's what we're doing. All right, so those are the ones that we are doing. Okay, let me give you the solutions for some of this. I kind of don't want to, but I kind of will. All right, but make sure that you can do it on your own though, and then maybe we'll do a couple together. All right, number 4. A lot of people have asked me that question. Number 4 is indeed 114. All right, so when you get there, you didn't do it wrong. You really did get 114. By the way, the first 4, do them all in the calculator, all right? I don't necessarily need to see your work unless you want to, but do it on the calculator. Is that clear? All right. So I'm just going to give you number 4. That was 114. See if I want to give you another one. No, the rest you can do. Okay. Now, on number 13, you have two solutions. One of them is 17. The other one is negative 9. All right, so two solutions. Make sure you work that problem out. You have to get those two. Very simple. Remember how to do this again? Some people totally forgot in the second period. They're like, oh, wait, how do we do this? Remember, you set one of them equal to 13, the second one equal to negative 13, and then you solve each one. That's it. Let's talk about a number like 16. 16, what is the first step again that I have to do?
Isolate.
All right, isolate the absolute value, correct? So how do I isolate that absolute value? How do I move the 7? Right. Here's the thing. If you don't know, remember, if there's no plus or minus between the 7 and the absolute value, that means it's being multiplied. All right, so we have 7 times the absolute value of that. So yes, whoever said divide, yes, that's the way to get rid of it. I'm going to start off by dividing by 7. And then now I have the absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 6. And then remember, how do you solve this? Well, very simple. You have x plus 3 is equal to 6. X plus 3 is equal to negative 6. 2 cases. Very simple. And then you solve each one, and there's your answer. Okay? Okay, let's do one together. And I'm going to ask a question to someone. And I don't remember your names, most of you. But if I remember your name, that's not good, because I'm probably going to call on you. Hips, you always seem ready to answer, right? Mm-hmm. What is the answer to number 18?
Did we get the x, or?
Now, there's almost no thinking involved rather than what I told you.
Oh yeah, it's negative 6 and.
Hold on. Say that? There's no solution. Why is there no solution? Because I have an absolute value equal to a negative number, right? So if I have one absolute value equal to one negative number, then that's no solution. Remember, it's like me asking you, when are you going to have a distance of negative 6? The answer is never. Distance is always positive, and so is absolute value. All right, so this one is no solution. All right, now I'm going to give you a few more answers. I'm not going to work anything else out for you. Let's take a look. All right, I'm not going to give you 19. I want to let you figure that out. On this one, you got p is equal to 11. And then you got P is equal to negative 5/3. Make sure to check your solutions, please, because one of these is not a solution. So you don't have to write check solutions, all right? That's for you. So these are the answers. Once you get to these answers, please check both of them on the calculator, all right? What else? I think that's the last one that I asked you to do, wasn't it? Okay, well, you still got... You got a long time. Yeah, you almost got 30 minutes, all right? So 30 minutes, 10 problems should be no problem to finish in class, all right? If you got questions, hopefully if you finish homework here, then no homework. If you got questions, please let me know.
That's good.